Welcome back to Linny Kenny Leather. I'm Wyatt, and today we're going to be talking about this 2024 Gibson Les Paul Standard 50s Gold Top. If you've been on the channel before, you know I've been on a bit of a quest with Les Pauls, Gibson USA in general, quality control, been through a few guitars, and this is actually a warranty replacement for a guitar that I sent back that was a warranty replacement for a guitar that I bought and had some finish and setup issues. So the question is, you know, is the third time the charm? The spoiler is, this is an absolutely perfect and flawless, beautiful guitar. Just overall, if you've only got the 5 minutes to watch the video, know that the fit and finish on this thing is perfect. Everything around the neck and the binding and all of the body and the headstock in the back and the neck joint and under the covers, and you cannot find a finish imperfection or a cosmetic or other flaw on this guitar, period. What's sad about this whole deal is that I feel like this video is going to get 20 views. And the one with the bad guitar, where I'm talking about, oh, it's got problems here and problems there, I never thought it would get 35,000 views in like a month. And I genuinely hope that it doesn't hurt Gibson in any way, because they're capable of this. But at the same time, I'm not going to take it down. You know, I don't feel bad about it. You know, bought a guitar and it had all kinds of problems, and you know, it's good that everybody should know that. But it's equally good that everybody should know that they can make fantastic, gorgeous magic guitars like this. And I feel like, you know, this one is not going to get any traction at all. Like I said, there's going to be like 30 people watching this video, because that's the way of the world and, you know, psychology and the internet and all of that. It's just not a sensational story like a guy got a really good Gibson. You know, that's not going to make the news. And it should, you know, again, for Gibson's sake, because this is a hell of a thing. It's an 8 3/4 pound Les Paul that plays great. It sounds great. And Gibson USA, you know, they can make some dead ringers of a guitar, and this is just one of them. And I'm overjoyed to have it. And that's totally unbiased, didn't get a discount, didn't get any special treatment, didn't leverage that video for anything. To go through this full guitar, you know, the good, the bad, and there's not much ugly to talk about. But the good, it's straight, it's wonderful, it rings nice and clear and true, it plays well all the way up and down the neck, it sounds great unplugged, it sounds good plugged in. A few of the weird things about this guitar, two-piece body, is perfectly quarter sawn, both pieces, which I've never seen on a Gibson really before, where it looks like, you know, a tuna sushi steak or something like that. All of the grain is running perfectly vertical in this direction. And it's, yeah, it's a gorgeous, gorgeous body. Like, the actual slabs of mahogany used are good. The neck is good. The rosewood to go to the fretboard on this is really nice piece, you know. As you can see, the grain is totally straight, like all the way through from all the highest fret down to the lowest fret. You know, the swirly ones are beautiful too. I love the swirly ones, but the fact that this one is really straight grained all the way down, especially with, you know, being a quarter sawn mahogany neck and a quarter sawn mahogany body, to have that all running straight somehow just adds to the sort of straight feel of the guitar. And that probably doesn't matter to most people. I think it's cool. As far as the sound of it, it's got an interesting voice that I've never heard in another guitar, and definitely not in another Les Paul. And what's really interesting about it is a lot of times, especially if you let a chord or something ring out for a while, it's got a tremolo to it. Like, it's got a pretty serious tremolo as you let notes ring. In a much more pronounced way than anything I've ever had before. I've had guitars that do that a little bit, and it's like, oh, that's kind of neat. This one is like that turned up to 11, like a singer that uses a lot of vibrato or something like that. Which is really interesting to me, that it does it dead acoustically sitting here. You know, you can ring a chord and it's got a lot of movement to it as it sustains. I thought it might lose that when you plugged it in, but it doesn't. It does the same thing through an amp, through a dead dry signal, you know, not through, you know, a nice tube amp or anything like that, like a totally dry direct input signal. It's got a lot of movement to it. And again, that is, you know, there's a lot to be said for the resonant properties of electric guitars. I made a video on that. You can check it out. Again, this being quarter sawn, perhaps has something to do with it, and fairly lightweight. Of course, there's less mass to move, so it's going to vibrate in a different way, and those vibrations end up back in the strings. Check this out, which is really interesting. I put it through just a cheap, it's not quite a spectrometer, but you can graph the hertz of the signal versus time, and then the intensity of the signal would be the color. And a simple, like a G chord, which should be, you know, 6 notes, you get a lot more information than that out of this guitar. And again, this is direct plugged in, you know, just straight into an interface, dead clean into GarageBand. And look at the information coming out of the cable on this thing, because it's really wild. I've never seen anything like it. And I'm gonna plug in some other guitars and like do a little more homework, because again, I'm not the world's expert on any of this stuff. I'm just goofing around. But look at some of these frequencies and you can see that tremolo effect that I'm talking about, which is really unusual, you know, at some of those frequencies for it to be pulsating is weird. And some places it's pulsating slower, and some places it's pulsating faster. And of course, that's just a straight G chord, you know, open G cowboy chord. It sounds really great. So yeah, struck gold with Gibson USA. Super happy about it. And just wanted to share that information. I hope it gets out there, because some fantastic guitars rolling off of the assembly line down there in Nashville. And yeah, I think anybody would be happy to own this. You know, if you bought a Les Paul and this showed up, I couldn't imagine not being overjoyed, especially after spending some time playing it. Thank you so much for watching. If you're into this kind of thing, subscribe to the channel. One of the things that I'm going to be doing is a pet project for my own entertainment, but you know, tune in if you're into that kind of thing. This guy I'm going to do a bunch of different stuff with, and again, do the actual data analysis of the changes. So I'm going to put it together just like it is, throw pickups in and everything else, and play it, and then pull it apart, paint the guitar, put it back together, play it again, keep the same pickup height, everything else, and sort of go through and change one variable at a time and actually do some data acquisition and see what exactly is the change from one bridge to another, or one saddle to another, or light strings and heavy strings and all this stuff, because people have covered it ad nauseum on the internet, and it's like, oh, well, it feels different, or can you hear the difference between this and this? Which is great, you know, content, but if you can plot it out and see that, oh, the difference is right around 3,000, you get a little spike here and there's a little scoop over there when you change, that's what the world needs to know. Effects are wonderful, and technology is wonderful, and tube amps are wonderful, and there's a lot of wonderful stuff out there. But if you can get your actual guitar signal the way that you want it, boy, life is just a whole lot easier, you know. And if you don't like your direct signal, you don't like your guitar sound. And that's a problem, right? And if you're trying to fix it with EQs and fancy tube amps or plugins or whatever you're doing and changing your amp speaker and you're always chasing tones, like, plug in your direct signal and just noodle around and just see what chords sound like and single notes sound like, and you know, tweak your guitar sound on the guitar, and you won't have to in post. You know, it's like if you take a crappy photo and it's like, oh, we got it, we can Photoshop it later. Like, you sometimes, like, and it's only going to be so good, where if you take a nice, perfect photo right off the bat, then when you get it into post, you can make a few little tweaks and have something really, really, really special. But there's not a lot of pro photographers out there that are just, you know, taking crap photos and doing a ton of editing. But there are a lot of guitar players who don't have a great guitar sound, but are playing through, 3 or 4 pedals on at once into an amp, or, an amp sim with a bunch of processing going on in order to get a decent tone that they like. So just something to think about. And I hope you guys are into it. And if you are, check out the channel, like the video, check out linnykenny.com. If you're into really, really nice Italian leather guitar straps, handmade in the USA by my wife and I, support us, support the channel, support small businesses, and get a really nice guitar strap doing it. Because, yeah, really nice guitar straps are really nice. Other than that, be safe out there, have fun, and we'll catch you next time.